Welcome to Never Too Late for Fitness Radio, bringing baby boomers proven strategies and innovative products for getting fit, staying fit, so you can live a longer, healthier, and happier life. Here's your host, best-selling author and fitness advocate, Phil Ferris.
This is Phil Ferris, and welcome to our show. Never Too Late for Fitness Radio provides answers and straight talk about fitness, nutrition, and healthy lifestyles for people over 50. Our goal is to educate and advocate health and fitness strategies that will help you to live a longer, healthier, and happier life. The pandemic has turned our lives upside down, putting our concern about our health and the health of our loved ones center stage. We are in uncharted territory, and our mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual health is under constant attack. If you are seeking specific strategies for the stress, anxiety, and physical drain the pandemic has created, this episode is for you. My guest today is Dr. Younglim Lee, who received her PhD and postdoctoral training in neuroscience from Yale University. She has also trained and taught students and psychiatric residents in Yale and Indiana University medical schools. After moving to Chicago, she worked as a senior research scientist at Abbott Laboratory. Through her 23-year career as a neuroscientist, she dedicated herself to preclinical research in the area of anxiety, depression, and mood disorders. Her goal was developing a better drug to treat our not only symptoms, but to help patients overcome mood disorders. Her research for tools to overcome disease itself has clearly been answered when she began utilizing the training method called brain education. Brain education is a modern revision of traditional Eastern mind and body training integrated with neuroscientific findings. People participate in physical, emotional, and cognitive exercises, as well as posture, breathing techniques, guided imagery, and games designed to improve sensory awareness, motor control, balance, emotional regulation, attention, imagination, and creativity. This experience profoundly changed her understanding and approach to the disease process. Currently, she is a regional manager of Body and Brain Corporation of Illinois East Region. As a trainer for various body and brain workshops, she is living a happy and fulfilling life, guiding members in achieving physical and emotional wellness through brain education training methods. Thank you, Master Lee, for being on the show today.
Thank you for inviting me. It is my honor.
Well, great. Now, we're all been struck and our lives have been changed by the pandemic and the implications of social distancing and the change in our routine. And all these things have started to have an impact on our health, especially our immune system. I wonder if you could share with us a little bit about how the pandemic and our social distancing is having an impact on our immune system.
Okay. Now, COVID-19 is very new virus, and we do not know exactly how it works, and we are in the process of figuring things out. When it comes to stress and perceived stress, the important factor that make you really much more stressed out is about how much of controllability you have. So if things and situation and insult or impact is uncontrollable and you don't even know, it's unpredictable and uncontrollable, even the same amount of event will cause greater sense of stress because it's unpredictable and uncontrollable. And COVID-19 is certainly uncontrollable, unpredictable stress. So that's what make it perceived stress greater. And also, I do believe, and we also know, that human beings are social animal. And by the definition of this locked in a house is actually dissociating ourselves from greater society. And sometimes we do have a problem from society, but also people that we meet in the society is also the way that we connect it to and solve our issue too. So having the fact that we are isolated at home and there is no interactions and support system, obviously make what's happening inside of you perceived as even greater stressor to you. So this combined if the immune system is sensitive to stress, which we all probably agree with, COVID-19, to summarize, is the by nature of unpredictability and uncontrollability and isolation it requires to somehow to react to this, to control in a way to this virus, make us in the position that feel greater stress in the current circumstances.
Yeah, and the other thing that the social distancing or being quarantined in is it really severely limits the amount of coping mechanisms that we have available to us for dealing with stress. For some people, it was going out, and for me, it was going out and playing tennis or playing sports and the competitive nature of that. For my wife, it was being with her girlfriends and being able to talk and socialize. And now they can do that virtually, but it's not the same.
You are absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. I mean, obviously, the most ideal situation, you are strong enough and you yourself should be enough for you and biggest supporter to you. And as a matter of fact, brain education, we try to bring that empowerment within. However, most of us has, as you said, coping mechanism require interaction with the outside world. Take our mind off or move our body instead of obsessed with the thoughts. So like, as you said, like playing sports or having a support group, talking. And these are very acceptable and very common coping mechanism for most of us. So by isolating and quarantine, have no access to that, as you've pointed out, make us much more difficult to cope this situation. Yes.
As the stress mounts up, our immune system becomes compromised. It's suboptimized. It's not working at its best. And this makes us, one, more susceptible to COVID-19, because I found a lot of the people that have had severe cases or have died had compromised immune systems. But it also, as our immune system gets suboptimized, you become susceptible to other health-related issues. So it's important that people start becoming aware of symptoms of when their immune system isn't working as well as they can, so they can start shoring it up. So what are some indications or symptoms that people might be experiencing that would be indicative of an immune system that's suboptimized?
So when your immune system is suboptimized, you first of all will feel actually lethargic and tired, and you seems to have more susceptible in any kind of infectious diseases like cold. And if you have any wounds and any existing condition, it slows down healing process or it exacerbates the symptoms. And obviously, we all experience going through school. In the final comes along, everybody coughing, everybody sneezing. Why? You are very stressed out. Stressed out, reduce the immune system. Reduce the immune system, make you susceptible to develop any kind of viral or infectious challenge to actually set stage within you. So this is the thing that you can look at. How tired are you? How susceptible are you to any kind of thing that going on? Obviously, the infectious disease is going on. And also, how your body reacts. Is your wound healing well? You feel vigorous inside, or you're emotionally, you are depressed or anxious. So this is all the sign you can look for.
Things like anxiety, sleeplessness, irritability, not quite feeling like yourself. So those are things that you want to try and catch these things as early on as so you can start correcting them, because it's your body speaking to you. And, we're kind of soldiering through this quarantine phase that we're in. And we got to make sure that we do enough self-care to make sure that when we get on the other side, that we're healthy enough to go back and enjoy the life that, we've been thinking about now. Usually when people get symptoms and things get bad enough where they get a cold, they turn to medications, get a pill to make the symptoms go away. And your early career in education was in neuroscience and in that arena. And you made a switch where you combined your training in neuroscience with brain education, energy healing. That's how you got associated with body and brain. So can you talk about how combining these things can help people strengthen their immune system?
I think we all know intuitively through experience, stress stress pushes onset of diseases, or if you have already existing condition, stress exacerbates your condition. We actually feel this. If you have a high blood pressure, obviously if you're going through a lot of life stresses, the numbers, the measurement of the blood pressure really does, is even worsening, and you can actually feel that and see it in your own body. So I would say we all agree that stress has a lot to do with physical condition. In other words, our mind, because stress is essentially not about exactly event, what's happening in life. Stress is how you perceive the event that is happening in your life. So if you go push further, our mind, the way we see the things, the way we accept the stress actually affects our physical condition. This we know from our experience. As a scientist, what I noticed and actually dedicated myself is trying to find the way to handle our disease or our physical problems at the level of disease, level of physical body. So if stress and perceived stress and your consciousness mind, we all know that it affects the body. But when body get diseases, when it get ill, all the Western, particularly Western culture and advanced science and advanced medicine is essentially try to solve the disease at the level of body, how the chemical is balanced, how these channels and that type of cell grows, and how to prevent this kind of releasing of chemical and imbalance. This is what drugs try to do. And I believe when symptom is really debilitating, this kind of chemical intervention, pharmaceutical intervention is really helpful. And this is why I dedicate myself, my earlier life of more than 20 years researching to create better drug. For my specialty was actually mood disorders, so try to create a better drug. My last 3 years of my scientist career, I worked in pharmaceutical company. So because I wanted to bring a drug into the market that from the base of the mechanism that I've been studying for all my life. So that was my dream. So I worked in the pharmaceutical company 3 years. And what I noticed during working in the pharmaceutical company is that drug that is coming up from pipeline, I actually didn't pay attention to this before in this kind of manner. But when I worked within the system, there are drugs that actually can cure the problem at source, and there are drugs that actually help you managing the symptom. There are so many of drug that is available in the market is essentially symptom management related drug. I must say curing certain disease is not an easy process. It's obviously a lot more difficult to develop drug to have in that kind of caliber. I understand the difficulty, but yet most of the drug that we know and we often management related drug. So that make me think, boy, this has to, if drug is in the market is only helping you managing the symptom, and then you have to be on it the rest of your life. Obviously, pharmaceutical company go greater length to make it non-toxic and all the side effect profile to be reduced so that could be less, undesirable side effect you feel from taking the drug for so long. But it was actually concerning factor to me. And also the other thing is, if we believe mind and stress level really affects, even onset of diseases or exacerbate the diseases, but why the cure that we have is only at the level of body, then that bring to me actually awareness about how about mind, how about the way we are, which interact with our body very closely. And at that time of my life, I was actually, I think, in all honesty, I was marginally depressed all my life. But at that time of my life, I also have a stress in my life, with the family being ill, family member being ill. So I was in need of help. So I started training with the body and brain, yoga and Tai Chi studio nearby my home. And through the experience, and I studying the principle behind our training more, I really open up myself from alternative way of looking at the health and start to understanding myself not as a consumer of health product, but as actually a healer and the master of my own process, health process. So yes, we do need chemical entity sometime, particularly in the beginning of episode that is debilitating. But yet, after the first fire is out, we have to realize that we have a power, and our body is the system that is made to actually interact through the consciousness and mind with the physical condition in the body. So that if I know that, then I have to take back my own process, starting with my understanding of my being and the way I interact with the outside of the world. So that therefore having a better control on my perception of what's happening and who I really am. These kind of grounding, being grounded about the fact of who you are and the way you see the world, the way you see your life, which is all the domain of mindfulness and consciousness domain. When this training in this part is part of, I do believe this training in this part is part of being, truly being healthy in your life. So I start training extensively with the body and brain method, and I went through so many training after training and deeper experience. And in the process of it, I also realized all my physical symptoms I was not on any medication. I was certainly marginally depressed and I'm quite stressed out, but I can feel it with, as you said, irritability, lack of sleep, headache, all these things. I had it as a symptom. But through the training of moving the body mindfully and breathing and releasing the tension within the body, my emotional and physical tension out of me, I could feel it, the improvement of my condition and the lightness of my being, so to speak. So, and then I also study a lot in terms of principle. It's philosophical and spiritual text and such, just to understand life better. This is why I decided after 3 years of training, and I rather dedicate myself actually to teach myself and others around me about the power within us that allow us to actually be a healer and the master of our own being. And then dealing with the health, obviously that power does create the healing process much more optimal inside of us.
You've had your journey where you use the learnings and the techniques to kind of transform your mind, body, spirit, if you would. I'm a real practical kind of person where I'm looking for a solution to a problem. And one of the things that struck me is that I did a couple of classes with you and with Master Neil. And one of the things I had found is that my blood pressure was a lot higher than it normally was. And it was something they call it the silent disease because you don't, unless you measure it, you don't know that it is. So I became aware of the fact that it was high. And so I started doing applying some of the techniques I'd learned in the classes. Within a week, it went from 140 over 94 down to 122 over 73. And that was just a couple of techniques that I do on a regular basis that's a measurable thing for me that helped me improve and optimize my immune system, because running around with 140 over 90 is not a good level for blood pressure. So can you give some other examples of how issues that people have been able to address using some of the techniques that are being taught in these classes?
Quite often, I have a prospective member comes in and they ask me, I have so much anxiety. I cannot really free from my thinking process. Can you teach me how to meditate? But because I'm thinking so much and all the time, I really do not know how to meditate. I try, but it really is difficult. So that's the one very common case people ask. What meditation is in a core is here and now. We know that here and now and now. We should be here and now. We know it, but it's difficult to do that. So if you just sit doing nothing, just sit and trying to calm your mind. Obviously, there is some method of imagery, using the imagery and other things. Many people have a difficulty to calm your mind down and calm your thought down. And then that create lots of circular thoughts and pervasive anxiety state, into the pervasive anxiety state. So here and now, what we do in the class is that based on the neuroscientific idea, brain in a given moment cannot do two tasks simultaneously. So you can do multitasking, but you're actually tracking many channels. But at the given moment, you are only working on one thing. So in that sense, if you think a lot, you cannot really feel something. If you feel something very mindfully, you can stop thinking. So if your thinking is your issue that is causing the problem, you need to mindfully feel something. So in the class, of course, we are doing a lot of yoga, tai chi, vibration classes, and all sort of movement classes. We do move. I mean, people do exercise outside, people run in the treadmill, but like movement alone by itself is not necessarily here kind of activity. In other words, you can move your body, but your thoughts can still processing the information. You can listen to your friend walking, or you can listen to CNN to the treadmill. So your brain is working still with an information. Your body is moving. So when I said mindfully here means stop the process of information, but really feeling what's the sensation of body as you move. As you pay attention to the body this way, completely feeling, focused, concentrated, sensing your sense of your body, then you are inevitably here because your body is here. If you're adding to the breathing into this activity, breath is right now happening. So if you really follow your breath from the beginning to the end and moving the body through it, you literally make yourself here and now. If you do this period of a time, if I measure the end of this activity, your brainwave is not differ from very good, very seasoned meditators sit and meditating that period of time. So in other words, when you here and now, truly by mindfully, in feeling your body and breathe, aware of your breath, you can calm down brain activity to the point of meditative frequency, which will substantially, obviously, reduce your anxiety because you're not spiral out with the thoughts and the fearful and anxious thoughts. Now, that's the one thing. And when it comes to breathing, there is also the information about autonomic nervous system within our body. In the brain, there are autonomic nervous system, which is responsible for vital function of the modulating and regulating vital function. Among many things, autonomic nervous system does is like blood pressure. So you said your blood pressure was really not an optimal level. Now, many thing physical activity we can do. One of the vital sign that is actually we can manipulate it through our own will is breathing. Heart rate and blood pressure, these are difficult to manipulate at will. But breathing, you can monitor, you can follow, you can actually somewhat control. In an autonomic nervous system relationship, which is what the neural system that are responsible for modulating and manipulating vital activity of the human being, any organism for the matter, there are two branches. One is sympathetic and the other is parasympathetic. Sympathetic is essentially fight or flight type of branch responsible for fight or flight reaction. So when you're in this situation, which is perceived threat, your blood pressure goes up, your breathing is heavier, and your sugar released to the bloodstream, etc., to make you optimally fighting the event in front of you. And then when the event is over, autonomic nervous system should shift to parasympathetic mode, which is calm everything down. Now you can heal and rest. But issue with the disease, like if you have an issue with the blood pressure, and obviously you keep moving, you are in the almost parasympathetic tone status all the time. And if you have a perceived stress is ongoing, it's not the lion, like when we're living in a jungle, stress stimuli is punctate, it's on and off. But in modern life, our stressor is essentially almost ongoing all the time, particularly when you have an anxious thought about it. You perpetuate the stressor in your head over and over again. We are predominantly sympathetic branch life, so to speak. We are overly drawn in the sympathetic activity in the range. This is very challenging to your system when this situation prolongs. So you're breaking down your system because nobody can vigilant and actively ready to fight all the time forever. So this is now ended up breaking down the system, and all your adult diseases, heart diseases, blood pressure disease, this is all about the sympathetic parasympathetic tone. The balance is actually off. The breathing, long story, now come to the conclusive part. The breathing is one thing we can create, shifting from parasympathetic, which is a fight or flight mode, to the resting mode. The technique that we often teach in our class is that if you inhale certain duration, everybody has a certain, the way your breathing length, duration is very different. In the breathing, inhale and exhale phase, if your exhale phase is much longer than inhale phase, as a matter of fact, longer than twice longer, more than twice longer, then if you repeat this kind of breathing, exhaustive, natural, unforced exhale over and over again, the brain will shift to sympathetic mode to parasympathetic mode. In other words, the anxious, fighting, vigilant mode to resting and restore mode. This is why with our training, not only moving your body in a mindful way, in your case, I hope, so then your mind is calmed down, your thought is reduced, and you're breathing mindfully, particularly focusing on that long, natural, complete exhale. You're shifting your nervous system to parasympathetic mode. In these two events combined will reduce your stress level much lower level. Obviously, then it boosts. Immune system is closely related. Your stress system. So if your stress situation is reduced, immune function is much more optimized at that time. Because also you're moving body, you sweat, you release the tension. This all collectively, psychologically, physically, it also make you feel much less stress and more sense of well-being sets. And of course, that also help your immune function to be optimized.
So we just mentioned a couple of things, movement and breathing, but Body and Brain has a number of different techniques and strategies that are designed to help people optimize their immune system, to improve their well-being. It also improves things like balance and strength. Probably the easiest way to really understand the impact these exercises and activities do is to actually do it. It's kind of hard to describe.
That's absolutely correct.
Because it's a physical activity.
Right.
And so that's why you've come up with a way for people to, without any risk, without any commitment, to actually experience a number of these activities over a 3-week period. I wonder if you'd share what that program looks like and how they can take advantage of it.
Because this COVID-19 situation, everybody is quarantined in home, and they hopefully, when you have an access for the internet, Body and Brain is offering free class. Actually, everybody can have a 3 weeks worth of free class 3 times a week, and we cover 3 different types of classes: intestinal exercise, core building, core strength, immune boosting exercise sessions, yoga training, yoga class, but it's actually based on meridian energy system training. And we also have a Tai Chi and meditation class. So these 3 classes offer Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and it will be 1 hour long, and the instructor will give us some principle what this class is trying to achieve, and like 10-minute ish principle intro in the beginning, and then we'll do actually activity together. By sending you your request into the one of the website we're going to give you in the information in a press release, you can receive login information for these classes, so that you can try the 3-week free classes and feel for it. And we also plan to give a webinar about overall principle of how mind-body connection can optimize immune functions. In the Saturday, 16th of Saturday, 4 p.m., we'll give this webinar, free webinar. This is also 1 hour long, and 30 minutes is dedicated to principle education, biology behind how immune system works, how our training is trying to create inside of your body. And then the other 30 minutes, we actually will move our body and experience some of the home exercise I can teach you that you can utilize to optimize your immune functions and reduce your tension.
You have a number of locations in the northwest suburbs that are supporting this specific program.
Right. In the Chicago, greater Chicago area, we have a center at Lake Villa, Crystal Lake, Libertyville, Northbrook, Skokie, Mount Prospect, Glen Island, Westmont, Orland Park, and Palatine. So these are actually class 10 centers around the Chicago area, and in all these 10 centers actually do provide free classes and webinars.
Great. So what people can do is we will have the information of how to register online to take these classes, and they get 3 weeks of training, 3 classes a week, plus a webinar on Saturday the 16th. So this is a way to get educated, to learn, to practice, to experience, and see for yourself if this is something that you can incorporate as part of your overall health and well-being program, knowing that if we do that, self-care becomes very, very important, especially when we're in this stressful situation, and we will be in this situation for the foreseeable future. Things are never going to be exactly the same, so we need to be able to take care of ourselves. So this is a number of resources available to you to learn about Tai Chi and yoga and managing your energy. It's not just one simple thing. It's a series of strategies you can apply right away. I'm evidence of that. Is there any specific website they should go to?
Yeah, the link that I will provide through your press release is actually requesting access to free webinar and free classes. You can also know our organization and training more by going bodyandbrain.com. We also have a free YouTube channel that give you some principle background and short segment of training experience provided through YouTube bodyandbrain.com. So this is all possible venue that you can explore about our training.
Ashley, thank you so much for sharing your insight about the immune system and what we can do about it, and also making available to the listeners opportunities to try out these strategies. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you so very much for inviting me. Stay healthy and happy.
You've been listening to Never Too Late for Fitness Radio, hosted by Phil Ferris. To learn more about the guests or resources on our show today, or to listen to past episodes, go to nevertoolateforfitness.com.